So I had mentioned in a previous podcast this idea the DM has a lot of responsibilities. You do. You're there to world build, to create the story, to facilitate the story, to engage all the players at your table, to resolve the rules, to make certain judgment calls, to make sure that everybody's having a good time. That's why being a DM is a little bit overwhelming at first. But the important thing is to remember, and this is the focus of this podcast, and this should really almost be like podcast 0, because it is so important. As the DM, you are also a player in the game. And the moment that you forget that, that's when burnout starts to happen. That's when, as passionate as you are for D&D and you have an amazing adventure that you've created, like I'm just not feeling it. I just don't feel like playing on there. That passion is gone. You are a player in the game. You are there to see how the story is going to unfold. Yes, you've got your notes. Yes, you have a couple of ideas. Maybe you even wrote an adventure with some decision trees to make versus an open world, but you really never know how things are going to turn out. So approaching the game from the perspective of you're there to tell the story, but you are also a part of the story. You are controlling the world. You are controlling the monsters. You are controlling the NPCs. Look at them as a way to add value and adventure hooks, almost in direct opposition to your players. There's also a chance as a DM to physically play the game with NPCs. Create a character as an NPC, a non-player character. They're going to have a character sheet. They're going to have motivations. They're going to have magic items. And when you write the bio of that NPC, how they're involved, really stick to that bio. Immerse yourself in that. If you're playing a rogue from a Thieves Guild, what's the motivation? Why are they doing that? How are they interacting? See yourself in that role and tactically play that and get into the character. And in a way, especially if it's a NPC that's going to evolve over time with the story, this is a great way for you to kind of play a character within the game. I also like taking control of monsters. Intelligence-wise, on the D&D scale, D&D 5 attributes are vastly inflated. I mean, there's a lot of people walking around with 18s and higher. Everyone's godlike. Not as bad as D&D 4th. In AD&D, if you had 18 strength before you even went into 1800s, like 18's massive. So attribute-wise, intelligence, I'm like a 12 on there. Is that too generous? Maybe I'm 12 intelligence. I think I've got more wisdom than intelligence and hopefully more charisma than both of them. But from that perspective, exploring it, there's what I try to do with the monsters is get into character for the monsters. Look at the monsters and look at what their intelligence is and act like it. So if it's some sort of giant spider or some sort of cube or some sort of ooze on there that has low intelligence and a survival instinct, I won't make the best tactical choices. I just think playing that monster, I'm hungry, I want a snack, what's the closest life form? That's where we go. It's a chance to put yourself into the monster and experience it. I say intelligence because the higher intelligence, when we look at some of the dragons, when we explore some of the planes, and various demons and evil characters in the planes, like their intelligence is like 25, 22, 25. Like that's like super, super genius. So at that point, when I'm playing those characters, I will allow some of my DM rules knowledge to filter in to represent that. So an example would be, if I know a fighter's class has certain resistances or certain really good saving throws because they're going to have adjustments because they're a dwarf and they're playing a subclass defender on there, some sort of monster with like 22 intelligence would have that knowledge and know, you know what, I'm probably not going to be able to paralyze the dwarf. So maybe I want to go after someone else on there. I say that because this is a great way as a DM for you to play tactically the monsters, and in every encounter, no matter how small, role play the monsters. Put yourself in control of those monsters. When you begin to do that and you begin to build a world, what that means is in every D&D session, this is a chance for you to be a player. You are a player. And from my perspective, there's a lot of tools for the DM, physical tools, facilitation of communication, narrative, navigating the game. But the most important tool is to not get burnt out, to be able to look. And that's not to say that every adventure is a winner, every game's a winner, every session is awesome and amazing. I mean, that's what we strive for. It's going to be ups and downs. But by making sure you approach every adventure that you run and you don't get burnt out, that's just going to make everything so much better. So again, this should probably be like, we've been looking at building a DM's toolkit, right? These different things to utilize skills as a DM. This should probably be skill number 0.